All right, are we ready to get started? Thank you everybody for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. We've played a little musical chairs here tonight, and we're going to why in just a minute. For those who don't know me, I'm Karen Schultz. I'm the President and CEO of the Lake Travis Chamber of Commerce. And I thank you for being here tonight and taking time out to meet the candidates and hear what they have to say and get an educated and informed vote. If you didn't get a chance to, we have some cards in the back that we can get your questions. If you would like to do that, if you haven't done so. And we'll take questions from the audience at the end, and we'll get through as many as we can. So don't be sad if your question doesn't get picked, because we had quite a few questions last time in our last forum. I'd like to welcome you all to this forum tonight, and with any election, it's an exciting time, and particularly for our school district and for the greater Lake Travis area that the Chamber serves. I think these times are dynamic, as we all know, and call for us to be diligent, working together, and both on a community level, the needs for our businesses and our schools and our teachers and the people that serve the community in that capacity. It's an honor to be here tonight with all of you. The Chamber strives to be fair, insightful, and impartial in this process. Advocacy is an important part of what the work that we do at the Chamber. We're the largest business association in the Lake Travis area. I have almost 400 members, and that's a significant number of employees as well, over thousands of employees. And just a note that under state and federal law, we have the authority to represent our members in public policy debates. However, the Lake Travis Chamber has not historically endorsed candidates, and we will not be doing so in these elections. So I want to thank you for tonight, and here's some introductions. Sitting here in the first chair that's moved around is Craig Cancienne. We've got Lauren, you moved around too, Lauren White, and Christy Comfort. Phillip Davis won't be here with us tonight. He's had an emergency, and so he won't be here for this forum. My next job is to introduce my help tonight. I've got Mike Paule at our timekeeper, our official timekeeper. In the back is Karen Goodgame. She welcomed everybody and gave you out the cards if you were interested in doing that. And then Shannon Kane, I don't know where, there's Shannon. So I thank all of you for helping tonight. I really appreciate that. Our moderator tonight is Pastor Paul Johnson. He's the vicar from the Church of the Cross over on 71, right at Bee Creek Road, if you know. He and his wife Bernadette are parents of 3 grown sons. They moved here from Virginia and been here since 2013, and he was moved here to help the Church of the Cross be born. He's part of this ministry because he's excited about new things God has in store, and that you might receive and discover the full, rich, encouraging, and challenging relationship with God that the Lord intends for you. And clearly he had a calling to be the moderator tonight when we asked him. He was very gracious to do that for us. He did it a couple of years ago, and we really appreciate it. He does a great job. So it's my honor to introduce Pastor Paul Johnson.
Well, thank you all for being here this evening. Before we get started, let me share a little bit about the process. Excuse me. We'll be following, but before we do even that, first may we express our appreciation for these folks standing for office, including Phillip, who cannot be with us this evening. They are offering themselves for the sake of the well-being of this community, and we are grateful for your willingness to put yourself forward. So thank you for your desire. And second, our appreciation to one another for taking time out of our evening to be better informed as this election approaches, and finally also, of course, thanks to the Lake Travis Chamber of Commerce for putting this evening together. So our gathering tonight has two parts. In the first part, the candidates will begin with a 2-minute introduction of themselves, and then there will be 3 additional questions for which they each have 90 seconds to respond. And the questions have been shared with them beforehand. And we will rotate our responses to your questions as we go through each question. In the second part, the candidates will respond to questions put forward by you. You may have received a question card when you entered the space, If you at any time have a question for our candidates, please write it down and hold the card up in the air, and a member of the chamber will come by and pick it up, and the cards will be brought forward, and I'll ask the questions on behalf of the audience. And then we'll conclude with each candidate having the opportunity to say a brief closing word. So during this time, we ask of one another the following, that please silence your cell phones, please be respectful of the candidates and one another. Please keep side conversations to a minimum to allow the candidates to be heard. Please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers, and please hold all applause until the end of the forum, when we can again thank the candidates for their willingness to stand for office in this community. So again, everybody, we're mighty grateful that you're here and mighty grateful that y'all are here. So let's begin, okay?
Sounds great.
So Mr. Cancienne, you'll respond to the first question first, and the question is, please introduce yourself and share a little bit of what is inspiring you to stand for office.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. The fact that you guys are here shows you care, and that's important. My name is Craig Cancienne. I'm running for Lake Travis School Board Place 1. My wife, Anne Marie, and I moved here 13 years ago. It's pretty amazing how time flies. I guess that actually makes me the longest Lake Travis resident here on the stage tonight. But we've got 2 daughters in Lake Travis schools that have been here from the beginning. I've got a 16-year-old daughter at Lake Travis High School and a 13-year-old daughter, 7th grader at BK Middle School. So our kids have been involved in Lake Travis schools from the beginning. We're very invested in this school district. One of the reasons I'm running is because I believe in the potential of all the kids in this community. I think it's important that we have great schools to foster learning and to ensure that our kids get the best education opportunity possible. I think this community wants that for every kid in this district. As an Eagle Scout, I learned at an early age it's important to give back to your community. I've been a technology executive for the last 20 years. Learn how to build big teams, manage large budgets, and help companies to thrive. As a advisory board member for LSU's College of Engineering, I know what it takes to chart and maintain a course towards a standard of excellence in our schools. And I'm willing to give that service to this community. I've really enjoyed the last, this process, meeting community members, parents, teachers, and students alike from end to end across the district. And they've shared, the great things about our district, and they share their concerns as well. I really look forward to answering your questions tonight, and, thanks for being here.
Ms. White.
Thank you. My name is Lauren White, and I'm running for re-election to Place 2 on the Board of Trustees. I'm a former elementary and special education teacher. I taught for 10 years in the public schools of Washington, D.C. and Austin. And my husband and I moved to the Lake Travis area 10 years ago for the same reason that so many families did. We wanted our kids to go to Lake Travis ISD. My oldest started kindergarten here, and he's now in 9th grade. My 2 daughters are in 7th grade at LTMS and 4th grade at Rough Hollow Elementary. So I have one at each level, which makes transportation a special challenge every day. But when I was teaching, I felt like there were a lot of things that kind of came down from on high, so to speak, that were head scratchers. And you would sit and look at that and think, I have to do what? Is this really what's best for the students? Has anybody that made this decision thought through what this will look like in a classroom? And so I told myself then that if I ever had the opportunity to sit at the table where those decisions were made, that I would take it. That's why I first ran for school board in 2018, ran again in 2021, and am here asking for your vote again. I want to bring my passion for public education and a teacher's perspective and experience to this role on the board. I'm proud of what the board has accomplished over the last 6 years, and I believe there's much more important work that also needs to be done. I'm committed to that work and to the students, staff, and community here in Lake Travis. Thank you.
Ms. Comfort.
All right, hello. Thank you all for being here. I'm happy to be here. My husband Jason and I have two kiddos in elementary school. Moses is in 3rd grade, Micah is in 1st grade. I was born and raised just south of here in Wolverine Elementary. Went to Smith and Valley High School, graduated with an engineering degree from Texas A&M University. But don't hold it against me. My dad went to UT and my mom went to Baylor, so I know they're like, where did we go wrong? What happened? But I also have an MBA in finance. I spent the last 20 years in the global technology sector, running finance and operations. A few years ago, I realized there was a big teacher shortage and a big need for subs. So I decided to use some of my vacation time and go to substitute university and sub when I can. So that was one of my big motivators for running is I have 2 elementary kiddos, so we're here for the long haul. So I thought, why not step up and serve? After my company went public and IPO'd, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to take a break from corporate and spend more time with my kiddos and really exclusively get involved with the school. So for the last 3 years, I've been exclusively subbing inside LTISD. So another big motivator for me was I've subbed in over 30 classrooms all across the district in LTISD. And one of the big things that became apparent to me was the low teacher morale. And that really bothered me. And so that was a big thing that I'm like, how can I help out? Another thing was the low student achievement and academics that's been declining. And having 2 kids in elementary school, I really wanted to step up and see where I could help. So my love of being involved, I'm also PTO board member of Rough Hollow Elementary. I was the board of directors for the new Lakeway Lakers that we're hoping to bring on next year. And I'm hoping to get involved after a lot of prayer, decided to step up and serve as school board.
Thank you. The next question is Ms. White, if you would respond first, please. What are the greatest strengths of our school system? And how would you build upon those strengths to move the school system into a better future?
Thank you. The people in Lake Travis ISD are what make it special. And I mean the community that's dedicated to its public schools and parents that give so much back to our schools, our incredible students who amaze me all the time with their accomplishments and achievements, and of course, our dedicated teachers and staff that work in our school buildings. We have nice buildings in Lake Travis ISD. We're lucky to be a younger school district in comparison to many parts of the state and the country, but it's not the buildings that make us special, it's our people. And so I believe that, especially following the last few years, we've lost a lot of our dedicated staff, and it's important that we do all we can to keep teachers here in Lake Travis ISD. It's important that we listen to those teachers and ensure that they feel as though their voice is heard. Research shows that that's one of the most important factors in teacher retention. Of course, I think everyone knows that we would like to pay teachers more. It's a sad state of affairs that teachers have 2nd and 3rd jobs to make ends meet. And that's something that together we can advocate for more funding at the state level. It's incredibly important. Absent that opportunity at the moment, as a board, we need to be creative and do all that we can to make sure that the people who work here love working and stay working in Lake Travis ISD.
Ms. Comfort.
I love this question, and I agree with what Lauren just said. It's definitely the people. We have amazing teachers and staff and administrators, and then the parents of this community are just amazing. So we have such an amazing foundation to build on. Like I said, I think I'm the only candidate who's worked inside of LTISD, and I have for the last 3 years. So I really feel like what we're doing isn't working just because we've been losing some teachers, and the morale is low, and teachers are vital to our children's success. I feel like we've got to focus on attracting, recruiting, and retaining top talent. I like Lauren said, I think it would be awesome to give teachers more money, but obviously we can't always do that. So maybe we can be creative and explore other incentive plans. I would love to work with the city on affordable housing. It sounds like we're kind of getting in the process of that for the staff. I want to work with and continue to have like a great relationship with the city council. I have a good relationship with the current city council members as well as the candidates, and I feel like that's really important. I know that some of the community was a little disappointed when elementary 8 was supposed to pass and then it didn't pass. And I really hope that I can bridge that gap and help improve the relationship so we don't have a gap in communication like that in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Cancienne.
Thank you. So we do live in an amazing, supportive community, and we do have incredible facilities on our campuses, but I also agree. I think our greatest strengths are our most valuable assets, and that's our teachers. Our teachers are there. They want to be respected for the passion that they pour into our kids and the work that they do. Got a computer engineering degree, and I've jumped into the business side. I'm a numbers guy, but I don't think the equation is really too complex to understand what we need to do to amplify that strength. A mentor once told me, hey, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen more, talk less. And that might sound kind of funny from a guy sitting in front of a microphone right now, but I do think we need to listen to our teachers. And by listening to our teachers, I mean not just a survey that we may or may not send out annually or that they may or may not send back to us, but really getting to the front lines and understanding what are they doing, what help do they need, how can we support them. I think in truly understanding that, that's where we'll amplify our biggest strength, give our teachers the support they need, have the ability to retain them and continue, our district in the strength.
Excuse me, thank you. So the next question, Ms. Comfort, if you would begin, please. But our question is, what do you believe is the most pressing issue facing the Lake Travis Independent School District, and how would you address this issue?
As I mentioned earlier, it's definitely teacher, staff, and morale. I addressed that earlier and how I would suggest helping with that. Another burning issue for me is the low student academic performance in this district. I believe in analytic and data-driven approach to solve academic declines. I know we had a recent audit, so I would love to kind of dive into that and see where we can get more analysis in that area. Another big issue is the deficit that our district is facing currently and is planning to be in for a while. I believe I'm the only candidate with extensive finance background. I'm used to running multiple P&Ls for multiple businesses and upwards of $1 billion for Fortune 500 companies. So yes, I'm a big nerd, but I own that. And I'm really looking forward to diving into the budget and seeing where we can cut and explore where we can optimize. Similar to like with the bond, I want to make sure that we're utilizing and spending those bond dollars appropriately and efficiently. I just feel like we really need some fresh eyes on the board. And another issue is we're losing customers, which are our kiddos. It's sad to me when we have friends and family that we all moved here for this district because it's amazing schools and amazing community, and then when I feel like they're giving up and they feel like LT is not meeting their children's needs and they have to go to private or homeschool.
Mr. Cancienne.
So I think the answer to this one is pretty simple. It's state funding, and the deficit that we're facing in our district right now. To solve that, we've got to continue to do what the district's been doing, which is advocate for more state funding for our local public schools. I don't think there's a candidate up here who wants less funding for our public schools. And it's important. I've met with the state representative personally and expressed the same concern, that we do need increased funding for our public schools. And, short of getting that in this next legislative session, the only other answer is we've got to watch our spending. We've got to watch it very closely. We've got to have contingency budget plans that, can make sure we keep our fund balance where it needs to be. I think those two things are the answers: advocating for more state funding, having a plan there, and controlling our spending, until we get the answer we need from the legislature.
Thank you. I wish the answer were more fun than money, but it really does all come back to money, as you've probably heard from the other candidates. The state of Texas hasn't adjusted the per pupil basic allotment since 2019. So if you think about what groceries cost, what anything cost in 2019 compared to today, you can understand why Lake Travis ISD and so many districts across the state are looking at budget deficits. In the past several years, we have had the same amount of money with more unfunded or underfunded state mandates and growing costs of inflation, and we have done everything we can as a board to provide teacher and staff raises. That's going to be incredibly difficult over the next several years. I would love that having this opportunity to be here and have so many community members here could hopefully bring some more attention to the matter, because it's one thing for the board to go down to Austin, it's one thing for us to call our representatives and senators. It means a lot more when parents and community members start showing up and telling the story of Lake Travis ISD and what we can do for our students. It's going to be more important than ever that we are strong advocates for funding and that we navigate these budget challenges without impacting the people and programs that are working for our students. 88% of the maintenance and operations budget is salaries. There is not a lot of room on other things. The cuts will hurt our community, and we have to ensure that we prioritize student safety and academic outcomes. Thank you.
So the next question, and Mr. Cancienne, if you would respond first, please. So paint a picture of your vision for what the Lake Travis Independent School District looks like at the end of your service.
Sure. So I think, first I hope we're out of a budget deficit, 3 years from now. Again, I think I want to be part of that solution. I want to help to advocate at the state level for increased funding and ensure that, we can claw out of this budget deficit. The second thing I'd love to see is hiring, increased teacher satisfaction. We know that our teachers are our front lines. We know that, they're the most important asset. And, I mentioned that we need to support and listen to our teachers. But in doing that, I would hope that our teachers, become more satisfied and we retain them. And we can recruit better teachers and the best to, service our students. Want to see improved student outcomes and student safety, school safety. I think these two things go hand in hand. A student who doesn't feel that they're in a safe school environment isn't going to have the best student outcome. So we've got to make sure that, we are addressing school safety, and updating policies and making sure we're in compliance with, state law. I also want to, ensure that our curriculum is solid, that it's appropriate in age for the students that it's being presented to. And I think that these things are, in my vision for Lake Travis ISD.
Thank you. I just think that Lake Travis ISD should be the best district in the state of Texas, and I don't think we should stop there. Something I bring to this role from my experience as a teacher is a continuous improvement mindset. And what I mean by that is that a teacher, I've never seen a great teacher sit back at the end of a lesson or unit and say, well, that was great, I did it, I knocked it out of the park, I'm gonna do that exactly the same way next year, it accomplished my goals. Teachers are always looking for ways to do better. So I think that it's important as a board, as a trustee, that we are looking at everything through the lens of what did we do well and should be preserved, and what can we improve. And I believe that the only way to achieve excellence is through continuous evaluation and improvement. And by excellence, I mean all of the things, much more than just a star score. I believe that parents and community members should feel proud of their schools, students should feel safe and welcome in their schools, and that there are a lot of measures that create success beyond one test score. Thank you.
Ms. Comfort.
Sure. My vision, what does that look like? A balanced budget, general consensus that the bond dollars were managed well, 3 years of increased teacher satisfaction and morale, increased staff retention. Teachers, like I said, are vital to our children's education. Less discipline problems. I feel like a lot of teachers that I hear from when I'm currently subbing is that they're struggling and that they feel like, it's just tough. It's just a tough time. So I want them to know that we have their back and that they're empowered to enforce discipline and policy when needed. Increased test scores, just like everybody said up here, better in academics. I want to set the bar high and have high standards. So we set up our kids for their best possible future, whether that's in colleges and universities and ultimately in their careers. Safe schools. I want kids and staff to feel safe physically in the buildings as well as safe from bullying. I want higher parent engagement so that our parents feel involved and engaged in their children's education. Another thing that I was stunned to discover was the difference in our schools achieving at different levels. We have good friends at LT, Lake Travis Elementary, and they, for years, and they've consistently shared with us that they feel like their school has been left behind. And academic excellence should not be reserved for only a few schools. It should be reserved for all schools. And I'm running to represent every child in this district, all 11,000 of them.
Thank you. So those are all the prepared questions. And so now we have some questions from the audience, and we're asking you to keep your responses to about 30 seconds. And Ms. White, if you would first respond to this question. If the new high school enrollment and overall plans are reduced, what would you propose to the administration about resizing the athletic facilities and the bond amount?
Yes. So you should check out the video from last night's board meeting where this topic was discussed and voted on to change the size of the enrollment. It is a very nuanced discussion, and I think you'll find it very informative. That there are planned adjustments to the size of the athletic facilities, and there are the bond funds that are not used. We will not use more bond funds than we need. Building a slightly smaller school will save about $18 million. Those funds will still be there if additions are needed in the future. Thank you.
Ms. Comfort.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. If the new high school enrollment and overall plans are reduced, what would you propose to the administration about resizing the athletic facilities and and the bond amount?
Yeah, I agree. I think we should do that. One other alternative that I was thinking about last night when I was at that meeting is also potentially looking at the current high school and seeing if we need to be making some of those improvements and additions at the current high school. Because I know that, like we had mentioned, everyone up here mentioned the deficit. That's a big deal. So I feel like that's something else, another area that wasn't mentioned last night that maybe we can look at.
Mr. Cancienne.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if we look at the projections and the numbers are lower than originally intended, we need to build a high school to what we expect the enrollment to be. And that includes not just academic facilities, but athletic facilities, the technology investments as well. And there's projected savings, as pointed out, of $18 million. And, I think that those dollars should be, should not be spent.
Thank you. The next question, and Ms. Comfort, if you would respond first here. Would each of you please highlight your experience, outside of having served on the school board, your experience with respect to complex budget analysis, spending management, and capital planning? Ms. Comfort.
I think I briefly touched on that before. I have been, since the last 20 years, in the global technology sector, and I have specifically been in finance and operations, running P&Ls for large businesses. So I have that finance experience.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, run P&Ls that exceed $1 billion in revenue, and also had R&D expenses in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So very familiar with large budgets, operating P&Ls, and getting deep into the financials.
So I went to college and double majored in elementary and special education. And as my husband, who's in finance, will tell you, that's terrible ROI, which should probably make you question things. But I'm dedicated to public education and have found over the years that you ask the same questions and keep the same focus on everything, whether it's finance or curriculum. We need to make sure as trustees that we understand what's going on and that the best decisions are being made.
Thank you. So this next question will begin with Mr. Cancienne. So this person makes the comment that they've seen signs around town about vouchers, and they did some research, but have not had complete clarity on this. So their question is, why are vouchers an issue for a school board race? And please explain what vouchers have to do with the LT school board, and do you support them?
So I think the signs are a classic misinformation campaign. Vouchers are not going to be decided at a school board level. That's a state level. It's been being debated for years in the Texas House and Senate. These signs are, quite frankly, divisive lies being planted through our community. And I know that there's some names that appear on the bottom of those signs, and I would love to understand why they're allowing their name to appear on these lies.
My turn. I hate signs. I think a few of mine are falling down around town. But just to be clear, it was really important to me from the beginning to run my own campaign independent of any outside groups. I want to make sure at the end of the day that I'm here to serve the entire community. And so there are other groups involved. I wish we could rewind to a time when there were not, and I don't know how to do that. Open to suggestions, but what I put on my signs and what I am speaking about is my personal campaign. Thank you.
Yes, I am not for vouchers. I repeat, I'm not for vouchers. Everyone on the school board has the same opinion in that. And yeah, I do feel that, it's unfortunate that there are signs all over Lake Travis that are intentionally misleading and confusing the community. I do feel that if there were signs that had my name on it that were intentionally misleading and confusing people, that I would ask to take them down no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, and we begin with you, Ms. White. Research has shown some material presented to children too early can have a negative effect. What do you think is age-appropriate material for children with regard to vocabulary and content?
I think that's a tough question, and it sometimes depends on the students. And I think when you think about students in middle school taking advanced math courses, some students are ready for that higher level content, including its vocabulary, and some are not. We have librarians and curriculum experts in our school district who evaluate the curriculum. The curriculum is based on the TEKS that come directly from the State Board of Education. And I believe it's important that we oversee that process, but allow those professionals with the expertise and experience to evaluate materials.
Sure, I believe this probably, it's talking about book banning, which I am not a book banner. I repeat, I am not a book banner. Again, the signs are out there everywhere, but I've never stated anything about books on my website or forums or social anywhere. So that's another unfortunate situation that's out there. I do feel like we must follow the law, the HB 900, and not inject our own personal bias. I think that's important. I will always defer to the state, and I feel like it's our duty to follow the law. Thank you.
Mr. Cancienne?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy that our curriculum is based on, based on a recent curriculum audit and based on, aligning instruction to TEKS. It's a reasonable initial step, but to the point, I think, we need to make sure that it is age appropriate, and there's a review process that we have in our district, and through that review process, we're required to follow state law. It's an oath we take. So, I think age appropriateness is important.
This next question, Ms. Comfort, if you would respond first, please. When studies are proving kids should not be on technology to increase brain development, how do we get back to basics with pencil, paper, and books?
So phones are a big deal to me, And I do think that we should keep phones, especially out of the younger kids, as long as possible, and even technology. As I've been studying a lot within the district, I just feel like there's a lot of technology, even at the elementary level. And even as regards with social media, I'm kind of experiencing firsthand, bullying and things like that. So I have a new appreciation for kiddos that have phones and social media, and even more reason to keep it out.
Yeah, I think technology is a great resource, but I don't think it's the only resource out there. As a parent, I would love if my child came home with a math book where I could sit down and help them with a lesson and flip back a chapter to refresh my own memory on problems I haven't done in quite a while, but then flip forward and help them with the lesson that they're working on. So I definitely see the need for these resources as well as technology resources in our schools.
Yeah, I agree. We need a thoughtful plan for digital technology use during the school day by age. The SHAC committee has started to work on that. I'm very excited about that because I believe that this has to kind of come from our community. There has to be buy-in about what our students are doing and using, and we should base that on research and what we know about what's best for students and student learning. I am proud to say that after COVID, a couple of my older kiddos seem to have missed out on the handwriting and cursive curriculum, and my youngest does 100% of her work in cursive, so I promise changes are happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cancienne, this question is for you first. What needs to be done to improve the education of our underperforming students?
So obviously, we've got to meet the educational needs of every student in this district. And I think that, means resourcing it appropriately. I think it means supporting our teachers in the work that they do. They know best what each student needs, and we've got to, give them the support and the resources to meet the needs of the underperforming, those that are performing at par, and those that are looking for an extra challenge.
Thank you. I think it's really important, the work that has been ongoing since the curriculum audit, and a strong, solid curriculum helps teachers help students. It gives teachers options and opportunities for materials for students that are struggling, for students that have already mastered content, and all the students in between. So I believe we need to continue that work and make sure that we are allocating resources in a way that supports all students and needs. Thank you.
I'll reiterate just exactly to what Lauren just said and Craig. Making sure that we're allocating the resources appropriately, really supporting our teachers and giving them every resource that they need, making sure that we're doing evaluations and surveys and things like that for our teachers so we can get constant feedback from them, because if our teachers are suffering or just struggling, having lower morale, then I think that kind of affects our students as well. So focusing on that would be ideal.
Thank you. The next question, I believe we begin with Ms. White this time. Since we never know what is going to happen, if there was another pandemic, would you be for or against school closures and mask mandates?
Fun question. Everybody wants to talk about masks again, I'm sure. I really think that it's important we consider what lessons have been learned from the past and how important it is that students are in school and engaged in extracurriculars. We'd like to think they all go to school for math and science and reading, but really they go for orchestra and debate and drama and sports, whatever it is that's their passion. But it's really hard to speak to some future emergency. I just hope that we could handle it in a better way that would be less divisive and would have less impact on our students' education.
So I would not be for masks or school closings. It did not work well for us, even though it was like 10 days. I felt like they had 6 absences because we were both working and trying to manage, and it was very, very difficult with the school, with us trying to homeschool and both working full time. And both of my kiddos have just been delayed in their, I just feel like it's common across the board with our kiddos now. They're all a little bit behind and just took a little bit of extra work to kind of catch catch up, and I just feel like that's a big part of the mask and the school closing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the impact of our students, generational impact on their learning by school closures that happened through the pandemic. I would not support school closures if we were to experience another pandemic, God forbid. As far as masks, I think any health choice for a student is between their parent and their doctor, and the student would not support mask mandates.
Thank you. So, Ms. Comfort, I think you're first this time. As a board trustee, are you against or for age-appropriate curriculum for K through 6?
So, like I mentioned before, I'm not for book banning, but I am for age appropriate. As I've been diving into this more recently, I think that there are some books, for example, at the elementary level that should just be moved to the middle school level, and maybe at the middle school level that should be moved to the high school. To me, some of it's, common sense. It's just age appropriate, and I don't think anyone's interested in banning books or anything like that, but I am for age appropriate curriculum.
Yeah, hard question to answer in 30 seconds, but let's get to the facts. I mean, the Reader Act was passed, went into effect September 1st, 2023 for the current school year. The state law prohibits the, possession, acquisition, or collection of certain library content materials. The district needs to follow state law.
Thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Are you done? I agree that we need to follow the law. And I think it's important to differentiate between curriculum and library books for self-selection because they're very different things. And the curriculum in Lake Travis ISD is all age appropriate. The library has more kind of range, and I support increasing parents' ability to review and restrict any titles that they wish for their own children, and support that there's a process in place at the school district level for any materials parents are concerned about. Thank you.
Did you answer the, sorry, I'm getting more questions up here.
Okay.
Mr. Cancienne, we begin with you this time. And so this is for everybody. How much experience do you have inside classrooms in our district?
I'm a parent. I'm not a teacher. I'm been in classrooms. I've met with teachers. I've been president. With my kids in their elementary school years and lunch, periods and that kind of thing. But again, school classroom experience. I'm not a teacher.
Thank you. So I've been lucky to enjoy lots of opportunities to be in schools in Lake Travis with my 3 children over the years, and as a board member visiting schools and campuses, and I was a substitute teacher in Lake Travis ISD as well before I decided to run for school board. That was a very valuable experience I cherish.
I have been subbing the last 3 years inside ISD across 30 different classes and all kinds of different campuses around. I'm also room mom and have been on the PTO board, and I volunteer as much as I can at schools.
So Ms. White, you are the first for this question, and it's again for everybody. Is your campaign finance fully compliant with FEC regulations?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yes?
Yes, my campaign is fully compliant with the ethics, Commission of Ethics for elections. I would question, if other candidates are reporting in-kind contributions on their forms appropriately.
The next question, we begin with Ms. Comfort. What one skill or quality makes you uniquely qualified to serve?
I would think if I have to pick one, because Lauren was also a teacher, I think that's very valuable, but I'd say it's my finance experience. For 20 years, running large businesses and P&Ls and budgets and things like that.
I think our board needs strong leaders. I've got leadership skills that I've used throughout the corporate experience, my professional experience. I think our district needs strong leaders who have a vision for this district, who'll take action and not just talk about taking action, and can enact strong policy and ensure that we're moving in the right direction.
Thanks. My husband calls me a walking question mark, and I think that's super annoying when you're trying to decide where to go to dinner or where to go on vacation, but I've found it to be incredibly helpful in this role as a school board trustee. I ask a lot of questions, and I used to feel bad about asking so many questions. At first, it took some getting used to, but that's the job. And we should be questioning everything we're doing and every dollar we're spending to make sure that it has the best possible impact for our students, our schools, our staff, and our community.
Thank you. Mr. Cancienne, and everybody, how would you make all students feel safe on campus?
So one example is, looking at our policies. Bullying has been a topic of late, and I've looked at our district's bullying policy that hasn't been updated since 2017. To put that into perspective, TikTok wasn't even a big thing back then, right? TikTok challenges weren't around. So, if the state has offered resources that have been refreshed as recent as 2021, we should adopt those resources and look to, bring those into our district, publish them on our website, and be fully transparent with our parents and the community.
I agree with Mr. Cancienne, and I think it's important that it's not just bullying, it's bad behavior. I don't care if it's my kid, if it meets the legal definition of bullying or not. If they do not feel safe and supported and welcomed in our schools, then we need to do better. It's a multifaceted effort, and I am committed to that work. I'm also very proud of the school board's commitment over the last 6 years to safe schools, and am proud that we have prioritized student safety over everything else.
Yep, I agree, and want to reiterate what everyone said, and also making sure that our policy is updated and that our teachers feel empowered, as I mentioned earlier, that we have their back and that they feel that they can enforce the discipline and the policy when needed. So there aren't issues like that, so kids aren't having situations where they feel unsafe and the teachers don't feel like they have the authority or the ability to do anything about it.
Thank you. Ms. White, what does the district do or offer to do to equip parents to support the students? For example, ESL or 40 assets training or other things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something that's maybe a slight win since COVID, if we can call it that, is a lot of the parent programs that the district offers that were exclusively in person before are now offered sometimes in person and online and or via recording. So resources available to parents that meet them where they are. We have a lot of busy parents in this community, so being able to provide information in different ways is really important. It's an important partnership to have parents involved in our schools and helping their students.
Agreed. That's one of my biggest priorities also is parent engagement and parent involvement. We want all of our parents to feel engaged and empowered, and like Lauren mentioned, transparency is very important, and just making sure that we're communicating with parents and that they have a say in their children's education.
I agree as well. I've seen the district offering some great programs, great resources for parents, forms of seminars and forms of online materials, on hot topics that parents need to be aware of and need to be involved in. So I think continuing to offer those would be great.
Thank you. Ms. Comfort, what's the number one issue teachers face today in the LTISD?
Like I mentioned before, I think it is the discipline, and that they don't feel that, maybe they could, that we don't have their back. So that's kind of one of my big priorities is making sure teachers feel empowered to enforce the discipline and policy, when needed, so they feel fully supported and that they have all the resources that they need.
Yeah, I agree. I think a teacher that feels supported on a campus to, manage their classroom, feel supported to manage any discipline issues that arise is going to be a successful teacher. We've got to continue to support them every way possible. Listen to what they need. They're on the front lines. We've got to understand everything they need and give them those resources.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Craig and Christy have said. And I think one thing that we can think about as a community and as parents is that teachers are not always given the same respect that they once were. And I think it's not that it's wrong to question a teacher, absolutely, but to do so in the appropriate way, in the appropriate forum. And my suggestion would be if anyone has a question or concern to go directly to the teacher instead of online. And it may seem like a small thing, but it's a big thing to teachers. Thanks.
Mr. Cancienne, how can LTISD collaborate with the local businesses?
I think the district does a fair job of collaborating with local businesses, garnering support for all the extracurricular activities, and bringing in resources that are available in our community to speak to parents, to speak to students, to work with teachers. So I think continuing that and continuing community involvement is important. Obviously, parental involvement is critical as well, and these things will make our district great for the long haul.
Thank you. I'm really proud to live in a community where the businesses support our school district. And there are a lot of unique programs going on. I think we should continue to support and grow as needed. One of the things I've learned about that I was most excited to learn about was our students who work at Baylor Scott and White as a part of a work program for 18 plus students. That's been a really powerful partnership and opportunity for those students.
I do feel like the district has done a great job working directly with companies and businesses around here, and I experienced that firsthand when I was on the board of Rough Hollow Elementary. I was fundraising, and that was my role. So I worked directly with the community, the businesses within the community, and I was just really impressed with how excited they were to help out the schools and do whatever they could to help. It was really great.
Thank you. I think Ms. White, you are the first respondent for this question. The question is, at the monthly school board meetings, why are they spending so much time talking about questionable books rather than improving results of educating our kids?
I think it is important to consider as a board holistically how we allocate our time, because how we allocate our time is what we're saying is most important. And my number one priorities are always going to be school safety and student outcomes. So I think it's important that we make sure those are regular topics, and the board has made a lot of progress in the past years in having regular student outcome updates that are not just one annual STAR review, that are much more nuanced and data-driven.
I do feel like this goes back to parent engagement, and I think if we have parents that are really concerned about something, a book or things like that, then that we should spend some time on that and focus and address it in the board meetings.
Look, I appreciate the parents who are bringing to the district's attention when they feel that there's age content in our libraries are not age appropriate. The fact of the matter is, of the 25 books that have gone through the review process, 80% of them have been moved or removed by parents, librarians, and administrators working together. And that's a win for our students. We continue to talk about it because we talk about making policy, and that policy hasn't been made. It's been talked about for over a year now. So I think time to take action, time to enact policy in line with state law.
Thank you. Ms. Comfort, kids are placed into learning boxes and are expected to move, achieve with everyone. What are your thoughts on how to help those who learn at a slower pace but do not have a learning disability?
I feel like that's where it's really important for us to support our teachers. For example, my son is, he's in a, drawing a blank what kind of class it is, but he's with the kids that have a lot of the special assistant needs. He doesn't, but he's placed with that, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to get to experience and have fun with those kiddos and see what it's like to learn in a different environment. But I definitely want to make sure that we're supporting our teachers so that they have enough resources to handle all kinds of kiddos.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the district's responsibility is to, make sure we're providing for the needs of every student, and giving the teachers and the classrooms the resources they need to accommodate that. So I think it's important to continue to do that, and maybe in some areas even amp up the support and resources that we provide to our classrooms and our teachers.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think this is also where having a strong curriculum comes into play, because we're helping teachers when we provide resources that target students who come to the lesson or the learning at different places. So I believe that continued work that's ongoing with the curriculum will help this. And I think an understanding in general that students learn and develop and grow at different paces. And none of those is less than, and every child is as important as every other student in our district.
Thank you. Mr. Cancienne, are you for or against vouchers?
I think I've said it 3 times. I'm for increased state funding. There's not a board member or a candidate for school board who is for less school funding.
Against.
Same, as a board member, I'm for keeping more money within the district.
Thank you. Ms. White, do you support juniors and seniors working with trade schools and the trades for on-the-job training? For example, 4th period work.
Yes, I don't know exactly about 4th period work, what the question references, but I will say I'm very proud of the school district's career and technical offerings. They are robust, and there are so many of them. If you have a minute to look at the high school course curriculum, it's something that I think our community supports and doesn't always know about. You can graduate with a CRNA in nursing. There are career tracks in healthcare, in law enforcement, and we grow these offerings every year.
Yes, 100%. I think how valuable for them to learn a trade and to have that skill set or a certificate. I took welding class at A&M, and it was pretty awesome, and it was a great experience. I would have never otherwise done that, but how cool for kids to be able to do trades and things like that in high school. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think, again, we're fortunate to live in a district that can provide these types of opportunities for students. We know not every student is going to be, university bound. We know some students will, opt for a trade, opt for a different path. It's our job to prepare them for that next step, whatever it might be. And I think providing opportunities like learning trades in high school is great.
Thank you. Ms. Comfort, if you would please respond first to this question. How can we take the politics out of the school district?
I definitely agree. Politics should not be in the school district. I feel like that's important to me. It's a no-brainer. I feel like we should be focused on academics and keep politics out of the classroom.
Yeah, I think we take politics out by focusing on the students, focusing on the teachers, focusing on the curriculum, and making sure that we're providing the best educational opportunity for each and every student in the district.
Yeah, the reality that teaching and educating is not political, and it shouldn't be. And I think when we act together to remember that, it helps, because at the end of the day, I care about every student in our school district and represent them, whether they voted for me or have the same political beliefs or different political beliefs. That's not something that you consider when you're making decisions. You make the choice that's best for the students, the staff, and our community.
We just got one more question. Mr. Cancienne, if you disagree with what a sign says with your name on it, will you publicly ask for them to remove it?
Yes, if I saw a sign that had my name on it, I would publicly ask for them to remove it.
So I think I'm going to control what I can control, and that's my campaign. Unfortunately, we can't always control what other outside groups are doing or saying.
I would ask to have those signs removed if it had my name on it.
And beginning with Ms. White, in a few words, describe the most relevant strengths of the two opponents that you're with this evening.
I think the fact that they've both made it this far and they're here and doing okay is a strength. This is a difficult process at times, but it can also be incredibly rewarding to connect with the community. So I commend them both on their dedication to Lake Travis ISD and the experience they bring to the table and the discussion we've had tonight. I appreciate any opportunity to talk about public education, especially with new people at the table. So thank you to both of you.
And I appreciate, like I said earlier, Lauren's experience as a teacher. I think that's really valuable inside the classroom. When I first decided to run, I reached out to Lauren. I wanted to go have lunch with her and thank her for her service and just get to know her. And so, yeah, and the second would be I just appreciate her service on the board.
Yeah, I appreciate the commitment Ms. White and Ms. Comfort both have to our community. Obviously, both their experience in the classroom is extremely valuable to bring, and again, appreciate their commitment to our students and our teachers.
Our thanks to all of you, and we just want to invite you to make a closing statement. Ms. Comfort, if you'd like to begin.
Sure. I hope you've learned a little bit more about my background, my values, and my priorities. I think it's time for a fresh perspective, new skill set, diverse background to come on the board. I have 4 more upcoming meet and greets. If you have any additional questions, email me, call me, text me, come see me. I'm happy to have coffee with you. I have coffee with people every week that have questions, and I love it. And my name is Christy Comfort, and I would be honored to have your vote.
So I don't think there's anything more important than providing a great educational opportunity for the next generation of our youth, both the students that are in school now and the generations to come. I think it's critical that we have strong leadership on the board that will take action, move this district forward. My name is Craig Cancienne, running for Lake Travis School Board Place 1, and I'm asking for your vote.
I would be honored to have your vote for re-election to the LTISD School Board Place 2. And while I have this platform, I'm going to ask one more thing of you. And that is, if somebody in Lake Travis ISD has had a positive impact on you or your family, I'd like to ask you today or tonight or this weekend to take a moment and send an email. Send an email to that person and let them know. It can be short. It will be very important. And bonus points and all the gold stars if you want to CC their supervisor or the superintendent. But let's bring a little positivity and spread some love. Thank you.
We are very grateful for y'all and for Mr. Davis for being willing to stand and for the well-being of this community and this school board. And so let's express our gratitude to our candidates. Thank you, friends, and thank you all for being here.